I'm Channel 7's Ryan Houston. There are several people upset and frustrated about the waterways drying up in White County. We went out a few weeks ago to talk to people who live there. Take a listen to what they had to say.
It's not good, all these people, like I say, they're...
All right. What's going on? It sounds like you're...
It hurts. It hurts. They've killed off something I've used since I was 10 or 12 years old. We walked when there was no road all the way to Big Hurricane called Messes of Brim. 2.25 miles, 10 or 12 years old. I fish down here probably more than anybody. I'm not married. I can go all I want 4 or 5 days a week. Since they've done all this, I've been down here 15 times. I hadn't caught 30 fish in 15 trips. All my friends, they think I'm mad at them because I'm not giving them any fish this year. And I'm on fixed income, not well off. So sure, I can drive 50 miles one way and go catch a mess of fish. Yeah, but this is 10 miles. I can go 4 or 5 times from what I can go one time over there.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Yes, sir.
They wrecked the deal down here that's worked all of my life. They had a little dam down there that held the water at an elevation that would keep water in all the lakes, all the backwaters. They went down there and dug 7 foot below the bottom of the creek and put this gate in they've got down there now, and they lifted up from the top up, so when they open it, it drains the creek completely. There's no way of holding water down there now unless they shut the gates on this $7 million project they had and go back to using the old thing right there beside them that's worked all of our life. All of our life it's worked. Now we had 2 of the wettest years on record here about 5 years ago or 4, and it killed timber because there was water out of timber 9, 10 months out of the year. You know, like you said, 23 foot, the water comes in. You know, Game and Fish ain't going to admit it. When I was 8 or 10 years old, they never had a right because they went up here on the river at these flow-throughs and they dug holes in the bank of the river to let the water come in here at 23 foot so they'd have water for ducks instead of 26. The farmers that farmed up there had flooded their fields and everything. They nearly had riots, nearly had shootings back in '58. Wow. And stuff. But Game and Fish won't say nothing about that now. They wrecked that. Now they've wrecked this. That $7 million project is the biggest waste of money you've ever seen in your life. And that wasn't enough. They went out here and put 5 bridges around between Whirl and Mallard Pond. And they raised the bridges up and they took the tiles out and dug the tiles out deep. The tiles were set at a height to hold water. Those tiles was out at the end of lakes. When they dug the tiles out and dug all the deal out from under it, then that left the lake. They got 2 lakes that they let go dry down here. You can't catch a fish in Honey Lake or Mallard Pond. Mallard's about that deep. Honey, sometimes you can walk halfway across it.
So people really depended on this creek.
It brings all the fish in here. I just fish. A lot of these guys hunt and everything like that, and I'm sure it's affected them. It's wrecked my fishing. Totally wrecked it. But they still want to capture fish every once in a while, run up there and act like, man, you got some fish? Yeah, let me see your license, let me see this. At the same time, they're giving away a little free permit now saying you've got to have it to come down here. What they're wanting to do is in 2 or 3 years charge you for coming down here for that little permit, which is what they're doing now in White River Refuge. I told the lady here about over here at Ball Knob Refuge, the federal ground, that guy that's running that place over there lets all the water out. He just opens up the floodgate March the 1st and drains all the water. Used to, poor people could walk up there and stop beside the tile, catch a mess of fish. Now then, there ain't no water. Ain't no water. You know, we called the representative from this area. A bunch of us did. Bombarding him, and I don't want to say his name. We called his office about the guy letting all the water out down there. And I don't think they got the same guy running it now. He may have made a change. I don't want to say anything about that, but you know, I called Ray Tucker on his sports show and called it, I don't know, called a bunch of people. Ray Tucker said, oh, we can't do nothing about that. That's a duck refuge. We're paying the tax dollars on that place over there and everything. Why can't they do something about it? You know, I know good and well they can do something about that, but this right here is done. All they can do down there is close that $7 million project down and move that stuff out of the way and let it go right back to what it's been all of our life. And that would keep water in the lakes and water up the creek. That creek used to be the best fishing spot over here at this time of year right here. I mean, man, it was great.
So we're going to go and talk to Game and Fish, and we plan to bring your concerns to them.
I appreciate it so much.
But what happens if they still don't add any water?
We still have to abide by their rules and everything. And just grin and bear it, I guess, buddy. I don't know what else to do. They need to be fired. If I had my way and these people had their way, we'd run Game and Fish out here and never let them touch this again. I might not have a place to fish, but I wouldn't be paying for them to run down here and do this stuff.
If you could say anything to state leaders and to Game and Fish, what do you want to say right now?
I want to say that the people out of Little Rock that's running this place needs to listen to the people they have working up here that know something about it. The guy that's making the decision for this place doesn't come up here twice a year, and then he drives up and down the road. He knows nothing about that out there. At least he could read a book and read about the elevation and what elevation that 6 foot of water is hurting down there at the end of that. It ain't. I don't know, buddy. I get too emotional.
That's what we've been going on here. I've been hunting and fishing down here for 45 years. Me and a friend of mine, my name is Freddie Shaw. Me and a friend of mine came down here a few weeks ago. We're driving down here along, you run parallel there with the creek down through there. He said, man, what was it? We back up. We seen the old poles for the bridge that used to go across Glaze Creek right back there when this was all private ground. Never seen that in my life. Nearly 50 years of coming down here, you would see them, you would notice them. They're in a line. You would see them sticking out above the water. Water's never been down there low. Never knew it was there.
Railroad bridge.
The secondary trails and stuff down here, and I'm not going to just speak for hunters. I mean, we're all in this. That creek and everything down here affects all of us. You know, we call. I've talked. I don't know how many times I've called game fish commissioners. I talked to one here the other day, or a couple of weeks back. I asked him what's going on. He tells me, and I'm sure most of y'all don't know it, Game Fish doesn't maintain this no more. No. This is maintained by a private contractor. That private contractor comes in here one time a year and mows along this road, mows these campgrounds. So, and then he tells me that, well, I promise you, before the muzzleload permit hunts comes in, we're going to be down there and get all that done. Well, okay, that's great for everybody's going to hunt, I guess. But what about the people like these guys that want to come down here and fish, or just somebody who wants to come down here and camp? You're not going to pull in there and put up a tent or a $60,000, $70,000 RV when you got weeds 8 feet high surrounding you. You know, trash.
So it sounds like there are several issues, not just the creek, but the creek affects everything.
Everything. You know, I mean, it's awful. Like I say, these secondary trails I was talking about, what that is, that's like if you're going to hunt, if you go down there and you park your truck and you get out, you used to have at least a decent trail to go back into the woods so far, and then you get off the main trail and go out in the woods, set your stuff up. And if you were lucky enough to take a deer when you came back out, you had that decent trail at least to get your animal back out and get it taken care of. Right down here, not less than a mile from where we're standing right now, there's a handicap trail that that handicap people can't even get onto to go back in there, because when they come in there and butchered all the timber, they didn't do nothing. They left it. They left it just piled up out there. It's the awfulest mess you ever seen. It looks like a bomb went off in there.
So it's the creek, it's the trails, the water means no fish, no water means it's affecting the ducks. There's also flooding that affects people camping. Am I missing anything?
Oh, but like I say, you know, there's been years, and you guys, y'all know, they've held water. There's a dormant period. Y'all know there's a dormant period on the timber down here. When the water's standing in here in the winter, it doesn't hurt the trees for those months. That's how it is. That's a fact of it. After that time's gone, Well, yeah, then it starts hurting the trees. I've been down here before, and I know y'all have. Y'all remember some of these floods? They've held water in this thing up to May and June. That's way past the dormant period. And this went on for years and years. And then all of a sudden they got dying trees. Well, that gets out in the public eye a little bit there. Well, we better do something about it, whatever there. But the thing of it was, by that time, and one of y'all can probably tell me how many acres of timber died off down here because of that, because of their neglect. You know, they caused it. Not Mother Nature. They caused it. They could have done something to help prevent some of that, you know.
So, Frank, my last question, if you could say anything to the leaders of Game and Fish or the governor's office who may end up seeing this, what do you want to say?
We just want them to take notice of this. And we're not exclusive. This can't be the only game and fish wildlife management area that this is going on. So this is probably a statewide type issue. So there's other, you know, I hope that maybe some more will get involved in this at other places and bring this to their attention, that the game and fishing needs to get off their butts and do something. I mean, if you call them, and like these guys saying, you call and ask them something, who here is going to say you trust their reply? Nobody. You suggest something, and that's as far as it goes. Well, we'll try to do this, we'll try to do that. In the meantime, you see the boat trail here, you see the creek dried up, you see all these people down here gathered up. We're here for a reason. This is not just a wildlife management area to us. I grew up. This is part of our lives. We hunt and fish down here all our lives. This means something special to us. It's not just a place to go throw a hook in the water or go sit up in a tree. It's a special place. We used to appreciate the privilege of coming down here and being able to hunt on a wildlife management area that was like this. Now I'm ashamed to know that we have a Game and Fish Commission that cares so less about what goes on down there. All they're worried about is a dollar.
Amen.
They built all these bridges down here, and then what did they do? What did they do when they got the bridges? They went down there to Mallard Pond, butchered I don't know how many hundreds of acres of chestnut oak, put out acorns that big around. Looks like if you were to drive down there, you'd think somebody dropped a nuclear bomb down there. It looks so bad. Well, we're not going to replant. This is just how it is. The guy who was over the forestry part of the Game and Fish Commission told me himself that he is not, Game and Fish is not concerned about the hunter or the fishermen down here. We don't care. Well, what do you care about? All we see is the money. Where's the money going? Okay, you didn't use that money. Where'd you cut the timber for to build the bridges? There was funding for that. Where does it go? Where does our money for our fishing and hunting license? Where does it go? How is it benefiting? And why isn't it benefiting this place? You know, I mean, it used to this time of year, you'd come down through here, you'd see people down here in tents, camped out, fishing and stuff. Yeah. Well, they're not here now, like I said, until they knew y'all were coming down here. They weren't doing nothing. He tells me, well, we're going to get down there and we're going to mow it and we're going to try to do some of these secondary trails, blah, blah, blah. But they found out y'all were coming down here, so they got a little jump on it. Well, that don't mean nothing to us. They're just doing something as a quick fix because they got a little bit of the public out here involved in it, and we might get a little coverage about this. And I pray to God that we do, because we want this. We're not totally against the game and fish. But we've been lied to and heard so many excuses for so many years, we can't help but have a bad attitude. I don't like a liar. I don't lie, you know, and we're tired of excuses. You make any suggestions, well, I'll see what I can do. And it don't never go nowhere.
So when did this dry up? Was this like it's been going on 2 years, 3 years?
It's going on 3 years.
Yeah.
How many?
3 years.
3 years.
And it finally,
okay, started off 2 years ago.
And now you can go down here.
Okay.
You can go down here now and walk right out there in the middle of it. If you're lucky, there might be one little bitty ditch right out there in the very middle of it because of that. You know, they came in here, they went out here with track holes on floats and went out here and they redone a lot of these old sloughs and stuff in the wood. This is what comes back to the same stuff, try to get some of this water and stuff out here. Okay? Now there's water standing in the woods that's never been in there in my lifetime. There's water in there with current in it that's running backwards. It's never run that way in my life. You can't get down from Hurricane to Willow Pond later on in the year now when the water's going down because they've got the water going in there different, and they won't let you in there because the last few tiles they put in now is standing 5 foot of water.
So what neighborhood would we say is this Ball Knob? Is this Warden or?
It's White County. Everybody
White County.
comes down here from everywhere. Everybody comes down. Everybody knows about hurricane. Come down here and fish and all that.
Okay.
I mean, but man,
they'll come from everywhere.
it's just a crying shame that you come down here in a place that we remember. Most of us older folks remember how it used to look 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and you come down here now and you drive down through here and it's a jungle on both sides of the road. They're only going to mow it one time a year. They come down here and done all that clearing, cut all the timber, made them a few more dollars off that. And instead of maintaining what they cut, they let it all grow up. And now it's just horrible looking down through there. Been like we got a game warden. They do not have a full-time game warden down here. That's what the Game Fish Commissioner told me. He's just hit or miss whether he's here or not.
And the only time you see game wardens down here is during duck season.
And the permit
down
hunt.
here and write everybody tickets.
Yeah. I mean, and like say they come down here, they have a private contractor now that mows it one time a year, does the campgrounds one time a year. Well, what about the rest of the time? I mean, where's the tax dollars? I mean, what do they need? Do they need to appropriate different money? All these years back, they had money to do all this. Why all of a sudden now they've got no money to do it? Or what is the reason? Just tell us something, make us believe it. I'd really like to have a better attitude about the Game Fish Commission than I do. But we've heard so much BS for so many years, and this is a result of it. This is a result of it right here. You can see it right out there.
Yes, sir.
It looks like a ghost town. I've never seen it. I mean, it just breaks my heart. I've seen more. Back years ago, and these guys know, 20, 30 years ago, there were so many deers down here. Back in late winter, you'd have 20, 30 deer come in there on you at one time.
Wow.
There were so many deer. Now the deer, they're not here. We had a die-off back over 25 years ago to blue tongue. The Game and Fish, to my knowledge, never acknowledged it. We were finding dead deer out here laying in the woods. You go in here and talk to Wayne Kelly, which was over this at the time. Where's all the deer? Well, they're in the field. No, they're laying out there dead in the woods. We couldn't even get them to get up out of the little cafe right here, and we was offering to go out there and show them where they were laying, and they wouldn't get off their butt to even come out there and look. We come down here, it got so trashed up one year, we came down here, me and a bunch of my friends, and we went down here, started right here at Mitchell Corner. We went all the way to Willow Pond and all the way to Mallard Pond picking up trash and stuff. On our own. That's how much this place means to us. Who's going to do that if it don't mean something to you?
Yes, sir.
And while we were down there doing it, some of the Game and Fish guys that were down here then come down here, come down here and griped at us because we were down there doing it. Why are y'all doing it? Well, because you're not doing it. Somebody needs to clean this place up. It looks awful down here. They actually were griping at us for coming down here and trying to clean it up and doing their job. They didn't care that we were, we're public. This is public access. We can come down here as long as we're legal. We can do pretty much what we want to, we thought. But they actually got on to us for us coming down here and trying to clean it up. So this is what's going on now. But this is not just an isolated deal. We've cared about this place. Everybody that's standing here has been here a long time. We've cared about it that long. This is just the latest catastrophe. But we haven't been able to get Game and Fish to do nothing down here to benefit. It's to benefit the wildlife, the fish, the timber. That's the thing. We're not concerned. It's not just about the duck hunters. It's not just about the fishermen or the bow hunters. It's about the wildlife and the timber. That's what we care about. That's what we care about.
Okay.
I'm Joanne Johnson. I grew up on Departy Creek upstream. I fished there all my life. I'm probably one of the oldest here. I'm 80, will be 82. And it's going to affect Departy Creek, the animals. What are they going to eat, drink, and live by? It's going to be dry. Glaze Creek, it's going to be dry. What are the animals going to do? I thought Fish and Game was all about the animals. Well, the cougar, and I've seen one. The cougar, the rabbits, all of the other animals. What are they going to eat? Because they eat dead things up along the banks of the Departy and the Great Glaze Creek. And it's all about the animals. And I've lived there, and I've fished in the the Wiggy Bridge all my life. All my life. My grandparents owned ground on both sides of the Wiggy Bridge. And I don't know what's going to happen to it now. But thank you.
Yes, ma'am. What do you want to say to the leadership? If you could say one thing, what would you say?
I would like the Corps of Engineers or someone go to Washington about this. I think this needs to go to Washington. Our governor, she needs to get in it. Our congressman, everybody above me needs to get in it.
Tracy, what's going on?
Well, this has been an ongoing project that Game and Fish has kind of booted down the road. In 2014, they had a public forum meeting at the Searcy High School. Most of these people that you see was there. They put the concerns out there about the dying timber that was on the South Green Timber River, the South GTO. That right there was their focal point. At that time, they said it was 300 to 500 acres that was dying, and they wanted to do something to regen and get it going back again. At the same time, there was 1,500 acres or more on the North GTR that was already dead and dying. And they still haven't addressed anything with that with the public. 2017, they come back and they said, Hurricane is not considered a fishery anymore. Glaze Creek will not hold water. We're not going to hold water. That's it. We're not doing it no more. I've spoke with the top official, the former director of Arkansas Game and Fish, to the lonely peon that works here. I've talked with everybody from top to bottom. You don't get the same answers when you ask them about it. The timber that's dying, that's 2 miles off the creek, they're saying that because of the soil type that's here, that water travels underground to these areas. That timber's dying because of the creek. There's not any deadening between the creek and that deadening that's out there. You can walk the length of that creek and you won't find any dead timber 200 to 500 yards off of the creek. So you've got timber that's not dying, but they're considering that the creek is the one that's actually killing these trees. It's trapped water. Beavers are part of the problem. Part of the biggest problem is the Corps of Engineer. Corps of Engineer holds a river at 32 foot for 6, 8, 9 months out of the year. All that water comes through here. The north half of Arkansas, every bit of water on the north half of Arkansas comes through the White River, comes through here. So when we get a big rain in Missouri, there's the chain of lakes. There's 5 lakes. Mm-hmm. There's 11 tributary rivers, major rivers, that drain into the White River. So all of that water, the northern half of the state, comes through this area, comes through the White River, headed south. The Corps of Engineer is part of the problem. Game and Fish is part of the problem. But what this was all about was the creek. The creek's dry as a bone. There's people that's been here longer than me. I've been coming down here for 45 years. That's never seen this before. Drought years, everything's never seen this before.
How is this affecting you?
Can't fish. I mean, I brought a boat just so you can see what a boat looks like. I can't put it in down here. The lakes that are here used to run in the summertime. They would get down to about 6 foot, 8 foot deep. Now you go to these lakes and they're 3 to 6 foot deep. If you're lucky, you can find 6 foot of water. Or 2 foot. Mr. Jerry knows, or 2 foot.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So let me give you some backdrop. This creek runs out and it comes off of White River. Cut off, comes through, and it dumps into the Glaze Creek. At 22, 23 foot, that water starts running through this refuge. It doesn't affect it when it's that low. When it gets to 26 foot and it starts getting out of the banks of the river, that's when it starts really reaching into the refuge. Game and Fish's problem that I see is their water. There's a sign right up here that's got 190. Mitch, what is it? 193?
191.
191. Okay, so at 191, this place is full of water. You can't put no more in. It's going to start running out somewhere. That's Arkansas Game and Fish water. The Corps of Engineer water, when that river gets back in its banks, they've got to get that water out of here. They've addressed that issue with the new structure they put in down there, flood control structure. I say there's a happy medium in all of this between the creek being bone dry and the creek having water in it. There's a happy medium in everything. But when you walk from the beginning to the end of that creek on this refuge, and there's no dead trees along the creek, I don't buy the story that sandy loam soil is the problem that's killing trees 2 miles off of the creek. I don't buy that story with them.
So, just to play devil's advocate, what if someone were to say, is it possible that there's another river or creek somewhere close by that we can drive to and fish? And if they were to say that, what would you say?
Show me. Because right now we're in a drought condition. So, everything else is going to be dry. The closest people can go from here right now is the river, which is down here. The Red River and the White River come together. Or Ball Knob Lake is the two closest bodies of water.
It's not affected by this river.
Yeah, Ball Knob Refuge is dry. Yeah.
Okay. What would you like to see done?
I'd like to see water in that creek. There's no reason for it not to be a happy medium. They have hydrologists on staff that can figure out where to set those gates to hold water in that creek. That creek's the lifeblood of this place. It's the lifeblood of this place. It's everything to this place. And they've taken that away. Used to, you could drive down this road and you would go past anywhere from 5 to 15 vehicles parked along the creek fishing. Now, I was down here the other day. There wasn't a soul down here. I was the only person on this place. You never seen that. It's archery season. There was nobody down here archery hunting. There was nobody down here fishing because there's no place to fish. Nobody down here camping.
Because the camping area is all grown up.
Camping areas are grown up.
Until Saturday, until they do the all coming.
Okay. All right. Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
It takes more guts to go talk to people in person, and then if I'm not going to say whether you're telling the truth or it's excuses or whatever, get right here in front of us and talk. Let's all talk. We're not, we don't like feeling like this. This is what we've been presented, and this is how we react.
We also talked to Arkansas state officials. This is what Game and Fish had to say about what's going on in White County.
Trey, yesterday I was met by 40 to 50 angry people who live in White County. They're upset about Glaze Creek and the surrounding bodies of water that they claim are drying up after Game and Fish came out and has been doing work. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, well, the Glaze Creek drying up is intentional. That is exactly the aim that we hope for, because the bigger picture issue there is significant losses of red oak, component of our bottomland hardwood forest there. That area is at the confluence of the Little Red and White Rivers. It's a low-lying area and has proved difficult to dry out during the dry season, even when it should be dry. And so we went in over the last couple years and replaced an old, inefficient, and quite frankly, misplaced water control structure with the new one. And it has been very efficient and effective. And although the creek is dry, so are the woods. And that is really our objective, is to conserve and protect that bottomland hardwood forest. Bottomland hardwood forests are one of the most imperiled habitat types in the Mississippi alluvial valley. Only 20% of the historical bottomland hardwood forest that once covered most of eastern Arkansas, as well as lots of Louisiana, Mississippi, even western Tennessee. 20% is all that remains, and some of that is in public ownership. A lot of that with Arkansas Game and Fish here in the natural state. And so, I mean, it's really our responsibility, as dictated by Amendment 35, to protect those resources, and that's exactly what we're doing.
So, Trey, I'm told that a lot of people depend on that water, or let me rephrase that. Trey, a lot of people told me recently that they depend on the fish from that area to sort of feed their families. They tell us with the water in the area drying up, it's not only affecting their fishing holes, but it's affecting the deer. It's affecting duck season out there hunting. They're saying this is a multi-level problem.
I'm sorry, Ryan, I just don't buy that. There are many other bodies of water in the area from which they can harvest fish to take to the dinner table. The Little Red River, as I mentioned, and the White River are right there. Much more robust, larger fisheries with more fish in them. There would never, well, duck hunting one day would be non-existent there if we did not take the action we're taking now, because ducks come to that bottomland hardwood forest. They have been coming there for millennia. We have lost well over 1,000 acres of bottomland hardwood forest in Henry Gray Hurricane Lake Wildlife Management Area. We didn't spend $10 million on this water control structure to not get the water off that area. So this is by design. It is intentional. I would also note that the previous water control structure that was there, Glaze Creek dried up during this time of year historically. When Arkansas Game and Fish, when our forerunners decades ago put the original infrastructure in there, they didn't have access to the technology we have now, like with satellite imagery, GPS, and things like that. And actually, the old Glaze Creek structure was not placed, it was actually placed above the stream bed. So it was holding water and creating an artificial fishery, if you will, for decades. And so what we've done is take that old one out and put a new structure in that does move the water, gets it off the system during the growing season when we don't need water on those red oaks and other trees in that hard bottomland hardwood system. So yeah, I mean, the value of that bottomland hardwood forest in the larger picture of the ecosystem is just immeasurable. And you know, conservation and the practice of conservation that Game and Fish does every day, there are sacrifices. I mean, there is short-term pain for long-term gain. And you know, if we have to sacrifice a little bit of fishing opportunity in a probably what I would call a marginal fishery compared to nearby fisheries anyway, in order to save this very critically important bottomland hardwood ecosystem. That's the call we made, and you know, we're unapologetically proud of the fact that we are able to get that water off of those trees and preserve their lifespan and protect that resource for future generations. I mean, Arkansas is the duck hunting capital of the world, and I don't by any way mean to suggest that duck hunting is more important than fishing. I mean, it's not like a this or that situation, but in this particular situation, that bottomland hardwood ecosystem is critically important to the health of the state and to duck hunters and to waterfowl that depend on that area. And you mentioned deer as well. These changes of drying up the woods are going to preserve a forest for future generations that will benefit white-tailed deer. So I believe that you may have been misinformed by some of the folks that you spoke with.
You know, Trey, I was also told that we talked a lot about a lot of different things. Are you all still maintaining the trails in the area and the landings and things like that? Because that's another issue that they're saying that that is under private control now, and one person only comes out once a year, and they have trouble putting their boats in the water. They even would go out themselves to cut the trail areas. What can you tell me about that part of it?
Well, first and foremost, it is illegal for somebody from the public to cut a tree down in that area on Game and Fish property. So if they're doing that, they violated the law. Now, we do have some work days where our staff comes in and supervises public volunteers to do some trail maintenance and things like that. If it was done under that in that regard, that's certainly okay. But no, look, we have a staff of 600 employees around the state, a handful of which work on that area, and you know, they're diligent, they're taking care of it. I mean, we have a responsibility under Amendment 35 to the Constitution, and you know, we take great pride in the work we do. Now, as far as access, boating access, and what have you, if it's access to Glaze Creek we're talking about, look, when the White River reaches certain levels, Glaze Creek is going to fill with water again, and when it's the dormant season, we will hold some water in there. We will provide, we will inundate that area to provide mainly duck hunting opportunity come November, December, and January. And so there'll be boating access there. But outside of that, I really don't know what those concerns are.
Okay. Okay. So Trey, my last question, I know you have to run. What would you say to people in that area who tell us that you guys don't care, the area is not being maintained, and the changes there are affecting their bottom line at home with how much food they bring in? And also, there are businesses in the area who tell us that they are taking a 50% hit because of the water drying up.
Well, I would like to see evidence of that, and first and foremost, of a 50% hit taken by a business, because I, I Glaze Creek is not the Little Red River, where people come from other states and from every county in Arkansas to fish it. It's just it is not like the White River or the Little Red or Lake Washita or Lake Hamilton.
Trey. They mentioned problems at Glaze Creek, Honey Lake, Mallard Pond, Bill Lake, Hurricane Lake.
Ryan, let me tell you this: we're in a drought. Those lakes are going to be low and drier than normal this time of year, virtually every year. Now, Glaze Creek proper, it's a complex hydrology there, and a lot of that stuff, yeah, there is connectivity there. Again, I'm going to come back to the fact that our number one priority there is conserving and sustaining the bottomland hardwood forest, which is the primary habitat type of the acreage at Henry Gray Hurricane Lake. That's objective number one. If we lose some water level, if we lose, especially in Glaze Creek, it's a sacrifice that we're going to have to make to conserve that bottomland hardwood forest for future generations to enjoy.
Okay. Well, Trey, should we tell people to contact Game and Fish, or what should we tell people to do with other concerns that they're having about this area?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got concerns, you can certainly contact Arkansas Game and Fish, but I'm going to be very forthright, and Glaze Creek being dry is not a concern for the Arkansas Game and Fish, because again, that is the objective. That was the purpose of that water control structure, is to dry out those woods so we would not lose massive amounts of bottomland hardwood forest as we have over the past number of years. Ryan, one other thing I would like to point out, it's interesting that you're getting this uproar now. We have held numerous public meetings in White County, one as recently as 2 or 3, either 2022 or 2023. We did another one in like 17 or 18. We have hosted the General Assembly's Legislative Oversight Committee on the property at Henry Gray Hurricane Lake to inform, our legislators and those that are on the committee that oversee our state agency. So this is not a surprise. This is not anything new. This is something we have talked about a lot over the last 8 to 10 years. And so this should come as no surprise to anyone. I mean, we have been very transparent, open, and forthright about our plans to dry out that bottomland hardwood ecosystem during the growing season at Henry Gray Hurricane Lake.
Okay. And Trey, I don't know why. Okay, so I want to pronounce it Hurricane Lake, but everybody I'm talking to, they're pronouncing it Hurricane Lake.
Yeah, it's just a little colloquial deal. Yeah, I mean, I would say hurricane too, but everybody calls it hurricane. Hurricane. I guess a southern colloquialism of some type there.
Okay, well, Trey, thank you so much for your time.
Well, now that you've heard both sides of this story, what are your thoughts? We want to hear from you. Drop down in the comments and join the conversation. Ryan Houston, Channel 7 News.